Okay, hello everyone. I need your attention, please. Quiet on the set. It's not working. Is this on? Yeah, that's on. Okay, that's better. Quiet on the set. All right, we got it. Thank you. First, I'm calling this meeting to order. First thing I'd like to do is stand for a moment of silence. Brian, would you lead us on the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, greetings everyone. Nice crowd. Got some great recognitions coming up. Just need to do a couple of procedural things first. The reading of the fire evacuation procedure. In case of a fire, would everyone please follow the exit signs to the outside of the building. Please stay completely clear of the building to provide space for any fire department vehicles. Thank you for that. Also, reminder that persons wishing to address the board must sign up prior to the start of the public participation. Speakers must register on the form provided by the district at the entrance of the boardroom to maintain a first-come, first-served process. That will happen when we reconvene in the boardroom. For purposes of following up with speakers, the speakers must provide their name, address, telephone number, and/or email address. To limit comments to matters which may be properly discussed during public participation, the speakers will provide the topics. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. Thank you for those considerations. Item 2 on our agenda is approval of the agenda. I need a motion to approve this evening's agenda, please. Lisa, second. Elizabeth beat you to it. Any comments or questions on the agenda this evening? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion's carried. Now for the good part, right? That's what we're all here for. Presentations, recognitions. So first we're going to do the senior high school musical. Jeremy Hawkinson, please come on down. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. This is great. I'm Jeremy Hawkinson, director of this year's musical. I'm here with Aaron Fetzner, our choreographer. We did The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and these wonderful students were a part of it. It was a fun challenge. It was a difficult musical, lots of music, a big set build, but it really all came together. There were over 40 in the cast. We had over 40 set painters, makeup and hair technicians, tech crew members, and 19 students in the pit orchestra this year. Our biggest pit orchestra ever, and probably our best. If you heard them, you will know. So over 100 students involved, and most of them are here tonight. From January to March, putting together this amazing show. And so, to everyone, I know you've gotten a lot of great feedback, and you always do, and it's well-deserved. Highly skilled individual performances combined with amazing ensemble work, really a team that put together an amazing show. Special thanks to Miss Mellema for her hours and hours of vocal directing, Mrs. Brewer for being the anchor in the pit orchestra every night, Mr. Isaacson, Mr. Shaw for some great tech work, our amazing choreographer, Mrs. Fetzner. Gorgeous costumes by Mrs. Sentif, a great set by Mr. Denner and Mr. Wolf, Mrs. Berkmeyer, Mr. Main. Lots of people came together to make this happen. Thanks to Maureen, Kim, and Liz for organizing tonight. As always, to the Board of Education, Dr. Terranova, Mr. Siesto, thank you for all you do. And I just want to close here Stars of Tomorrow is May 10th. We got our reports back today. Stars of Tomorrow is the High School Tony Awards, where surrounding schools from Monroe County and all over the area perform at RBTL Friday, May 10th. You can get tickets. It's a great night. But we get adjudicated on the entire show, and it's like the Tonys. You get Best Actor, Best Actress, Outstanding Performance, Best Dance Ensemble, Outstanding Pit Orchestra. And we all go, we take a couple buses, and this year it took a couple buses, and sit together with parents, so there's about 150 of us there. Anyway, we got our reports back today, and they were really good, which I'm always happy about. But more importantly, and the judges included this, which I want to share with you tonight. And this is in addition to what the wonderful things they said about our kids. She said, there's such a strong sense of community and care in your school and with your program. The ticket process was seamless. The large audience was moved quickly and cheerfully into the auditorium. The parents selling concessions seemed happy to be there. The entire campus, including the lobby and the auditorium, were modern, clean, and cheerful. The audience clearly enjoyed the show and are proud of the high quality of their music and drama program. Starting your performance as the Saturday matinee by recognizing all of the teachers in the audience was very special, and it was impressive to see 19 teachers stand up. You clearly have the support of your school community, and they were very happy to be involved. The security guard at the entrance seemed genuinely excited to be there and proud to be helping with your production. It was a real pleasure to see that your excellent music and drama program are so cherished and supported by the Victor community. Isn't that something? Yeah, that makes me feel good. So, you know, that's what it's all about, creating a community and support for these wonderful people to work in the arts. And there's nothing better than the arts and athletics to create that sense of community. It's a really profound thing. So thanks again for having us. We'll see you next year. Are we going to do a photo? Oh, no. All right, come on in. Come on in. You can kneel down.
I think I should. Alex, I think you should kneel. You should lay down on your side. We should all hold you.
You should both be in the front. I really don't think so. Tim and Alex, you guys should be in the front. Or no, go up.
Ethan, don't stand in
You
front.
guys should go up with Riley. Okay.
No, you're good. Never mind. My bad.
That's assault.
Can you guys that's assault? Or just stand and then we can file in more? It might be wild. I don't know.
Okay, so that was a wonderful musical. After I saw it, I asked myself, these are high school students? You know, I compare it to some of the performances I see on Broadway when I visit New York City. Excellent. So let's give it up one more time for these folks. Okay, next I'll ask Dewey Weimer to come up and begin with the recognitions. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Dewey Weimer, Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics. First of all, congratulations to the Hunchback of Notre Dame and all of our performing arts programs. When I go to watch any of the orchestra or musical ensembles, it's always great to see student athletes in there performing in those regards as well, so congratulations. Thank you to the Board of Education, Dr. Terranova, all our building administration and coaching staff. We're here tonight to celebrate 31 student athletes who not only excel outside of the classroom, but in the classroom. And I would first like to bring up Coach Caper and our individual sectional champion, Drew Aparo, for Class A1, 108 pounds. Come on up, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us back again this year. First, I just wanted to congratulate Mr. Hawkinson and his group on putting together another nice show. And I also want to congratulate all the individual and team champions that are being honored here tonight as well. A few thank yous really quick. I want to thank our building principal, Brian Siesto, AD Dewey Weimer, Superintendent Tim Terranova, and our school board for continuing to do this. This is something we always look forward to, or I look forward to at this point in the year, give us an opportunity to once again honor our champions that we've had. I also want to give a special thank you to Drew's parents. We're very fortunate with the parents that I have an opportunity to work with. The support that they give us as coaches and educators really is second to none. And Drew's parents, will do just about anything for their children to see that they can be successful in the things that they choose to do and the things that they're really passionate about. So thank you all to all the parents that are here in attendance, and especially to Mr. and Mrs. Aparo. And most importantly, I want to thank Drew Aparo. He's a junior, so I am fortunate enough to have another year with him. He's an outstanding leader, and he's just an absolute wonderful young man who's well-rounded. His hard work, his dedication for the things that he puts effort into, again, is just second to none. He went into this year's sectional championships as the number 3 seed in his weight class, and the two boys that were seated ahead of him were bringing back some solid credentials in that they had both gone to the state tournament the season previously. And Drew put on a great semi-final match to knock off the number 2 seed, and then an absolute nail-biter that was extremely exciting, and he was able to knock off the number 1 seed to win the championship. And for his efforts, he was also named the tournament's most outstanding wrestler overall. So he just really put it together that weekend, and we couldn't have been more proud. He just did an outstanding job. Although those two matches, the older that I get, leave me at the end of the year wondering if perhaps I should retire, as my ticker starts to take a little bit too much punishment. In those 6 minutes, I probably had 32 heart attacks. So thanks, Drew. But it's about Drew here. Again, just an outstanding young man. Couldn't be more proud of him. And he deserves all the accolades that are coming his way. Look forward to next year. Hey. Sit there?
Next to the podium, I would like to welcome Coach Goodell and Emma Goodell. Emma is the individual sectional champion for indoor track in the 55-meter hurdles and a member of the 4x200 relay.
All right, thank you. So first, some thank yous go out to the Board of Education, Dr. Terranova, Mr. Siesto, Mr. Weimer. Especially thank you this year. we've been pushing real hard with the indoor track program last few years, and we've experienced a lot of growth. With that growth comes more need, and we got the support from the district to add the modified indoor program this year with a full coaching staff, additional coaching at the varsity level, location to practice. We went to Pinnacle. We just couldn't fit here on campus anymore. Without that support, our program wouldn't have had the success it had, and we greatly appreciate that. A summary of our season, too. We had great growth, like I said, with our athletes, and both programs performed well at the sectionals. Our boys were a top 10 finish, and our girls finished second, just shy of a sectional championship. Individually, 4x400 meter relay, as Dewey mentioned, Julia Sodoma, Tasia Williams, Ellis McElhenney, and Emma Goodell were members of that team. They were outstanding training partners for each other this season, also broke a school record in the 4x200 meter relay, and attended the state meet. Emma, as a freshman, and my daughter I have a pleasure of working with every day, set the school record in the 55-meter hurdles, went undefeated the entire season in the Monroe County League and in Section 5, a state representative top 10 finish, and is also named first team All-Greater Rochester this season for indoor track. So congratulations. Again, a final thank you. It's been a pleasure to work in the program. I appreciate the opportunity to come here every day to work and to get to coach my own kids, but the athletes of Victor High School. Thank you.
At this time, Coach Mark Fodor is at Canandaigua right now for the boys lacrosse game, and last I looked, they were up by 1 at halftime, so hopefully they're still doing well down there. But we do have our assistant coach, Coach Law, and Coach Jamie LeBrake. They're here tonight on Coach Fodor's behalf, and our Class A boys bowling sectional champions and runners-up to the state championship. So come on down, boys bowling, and Coach Law and LeBrake.
Gotta love that jingle jangle, right? Look at all that bling. There you go. Okay, I'll put it back for you. Thank you all for being here tonight. Before we start, Hunchback of Notre Dame, very nice job over there. My daughter was a gargoyle. I was very excited. Madeline, she's not here, she's at Charlie Brown, but you guys are awesome. I also sold concessions, so yeah, ooh. Lots of smiles there. Thank you, Board of Education, for having us here tonight, and Dr. Terranova, and Dewey Weimer, and Mr. Siesto, thank you for being here. These guys are awesome, amazing people. Let's start with what they did this year. 16-0. No Victor bowling team has ever been 16-0 before. I want to clap that off first. They went undefeated. They got the league championship for Division I, Monroe County. They went to sectionals. They had the highest series of all the teams playing there, so that put in, they got the the Class A championship, Division I. So very nice job there. Sectional champions. And then we went to states, and we did take second place. They worked very hard against a very tough Corning team, but we did get second place. But we did a great job there. It was a great experience. A lot of fun getting to Syracuse. Good times together. We stayed overnight there. Good times. Sure.
I'd just like to congratulate these boys on the tremendous season that they had. Undefeated season, sectional champion, and finishing second in states. It was certainly a great year. Also like to congratulate Toby Prescott, bowled a perfect 300 game at sectionals. That helped lead the way. And I'd like to congratulate Tim Doan and Lorenzo Amadio, sorry, making the all-sectional team. Great bowling, boys.
If you've ever seen really good bowling before I leave, see these guys. It's incredible how they just crush the pens, like 300 games coming out. I mean, it's just watch these guys play, and they help each other so much. They coach each other. We help them too, but they really are a great unit, and it's so much fun to be around them. And thank you so much for an awesome season, guys. Just keep doing it, okay?
Don't go too far, boys. So the state championship was in Syracuse, and the day prior to that, our boys basketball team was in regionals at Buff State. So it was traveling to I-90 that weekend. It was a long weekend. So the next team I would like to bring up is our two-time Class AA sectional champions with Coach Roberts. That's our boys basketball team. Come on up, guys.
All right. Congratulations to all the athletes in here, all the students that are participating in extracurriculars. One of the coolest things as a teacher is starting class every day or ending class every day and connecting with kids and hearing what they're involved with outside of the classroom. And one of the things that makes Victor special is we have so many students that are involved in extracurricular activities, and it's a cool thing to see. Thank you to the Board of Education. Thank you to Dr. Terranova and our athletic director, Dewey Weimer, and building principal, Brian Siesto. I feel very supported here. And Victor's truly a special place to coach and to teach. Congratulations to this team on an incredible accomplishment. Winning back-to-back is very difficult, as we found out this year, and we faced a lot of adversity, and I was not strong enough as a coach to pull our team together. Fortunately, our captains were. Cam Ryan, Nick Leonard, and Garrett Clare. They really took over down the stretch for us this year, along with our seniors, and the entire team made the decision to give up their individual selves for this group to have the success that we had, and they're going to have those special memories the rest of their lives. So thank you very much, guys, and thank you, everybody. Someone
I was
could.
thinking about the. I forgot.
We're almost. You're gonna play an NBA season, bro. By the time you graduate.
Oh yeah, that's right. 82. Hopefully.
There we go. Okay, as everyone is getting back to their seats and or leaving, we're going to take a quick recess and reconvene in the boardroom. Please attend if you'd like to the rest of our exciting meeting. Thank you. Congratulations to all. Thank you. Congratulations to all. Okay, we are back. Just had the best part of our meeting, all the presentations and recognitions tonight. Wonderful group of talented students we have. Next thing, and I'm sorry he has to follow all the recognitions, our superintendent's update, Dr. Terranova.
Thanks for that introduction, Mr. DeLucia. I have a little deeper voice today, just make sure you understand me. So quick superintendent's update. First of all, you have to thank and congratulate all our kids who participated in the musical, as well as all the different athletic achievements that we saw. Each one of those students has an incredible story to offer and is incredibly involved in our district, and it's just great to see. So I echo Mr. DeLucia's comments in saying that was the best part of the meeting, so we're really pleased to recognize all of their accomplishments. Also, I want to do a quick shout out because she got recognized, I think, the day after our last board meeting, and that's Tara Glynn, who received the Volunteer of the Year award at our March Superintendent's Conference Day. Tara does amazing work throughout the community and is also one of the co-PTSA presidents. So I just want to recognize Tara for receiving the Volunteer of the Year award. Couple quick updates. As you know, we're working on our mission and vision to try to revise both statements. We already had a major committee meeting regarding the vision statement, and we are preparing to send out a survey early next week to the staff and the community. It's going to ask for input on how we're doing as a school district, what they feel, individuals feel is the purpose of our schools, but not only now, but in the next 10, 15, and 20 years. And this information is going to go a long way in helping us form our vision statement for the future. So I just wanted to alert people that you're going to be seeing a survey, another survey, but it's a very important one that we hope that we can get all of the community and staff to fill out to support us with creating that appropriate and accurate vision for the district. Also, a shout out to our music department. Victor Central School District has been named the recipient of the NAAM Foundation 2024 Best Communities for Music Education Award. This is the 4th year in a row that VCS has earned this honor. The BCME Award is a signature program now in its 25th year of celebrating school districts and individual schools for their support and commitment to music education and their efforts to ensure access to music for all students. It's a prestigious award that is given to a select group of school districts across the country, and so it's just a great achievement by our entire music department. And lastly, just a quick preview tonight's meeting. We have 3 presentations. We're excited about the presentation regarding our mentoring and induction program for teachers. I really truly believe it's on the cutting edge. We're not only supporting teachers in their first year with mentoring and professional development, which every district does, but we've now carried it through in what's called an induction program for teachers between their 2nd and 5th year, where we continue targeted professional development, working in small cohort groups. And I think it's a great model for the future and continuing to emphasis on collaborating with our teaching staff. Also, very exciting 2 presentations on our budget with hopeful board adoption tonight for the 24-25 budget, as well as the presentation before that will be the capital project. Both are unique because you're going to hear about how we haven't gotten the information from New York State that we need to really have a strong understanding of where we need to go next with this information. But thankfully, Mr. Valise and Ms. D'Angelo are going to explain all that. So it'll make it as clear as possible. And I am hopeful that the board has enough information to make a effective decision regarding our budget for next year. So that's my superintendent's report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Maureen, do we have anyone signed up? Okay, so item 5 we do not need to do. Item 6, acceptance of the consent items, items 6A through F, I believe, yes. I need a motion to accept the consent items, please.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, second. Kristen. Any comments or questions on these items?
I'll jump in, per usual,
Thank you.
again. And it's just immense gratitude for the support, as Mr. Hawkinson was reading earlier in our presentation in the auditorium. You know, when visitors come in, they see the involvement of the community, the commitment of the community, the culture that's created, and it's just exemplified through when individuals have a thought of donations, they think of Victor Central School, and we are grateful for those donations. And Victor Softball Booster donating over $4,000 to be applied towards the purchase of 2 batting tunnel nets, again, to improve our sport program. $750 from our all-supporting PTSA going to the Early Childhood School to support Tom Knight Puppet Show, which is going to be a great addition to the curriculum and so forth. I'm sure we'll hear more about that. I'm excited. And then a keyboard valued at over $2,000 donated to the Victor Music Department, which again, just supports the incredible work and all the awards and recognition that we get across the state and the country for the work that we do and the support. So thank you to everybody who continues to make those donations, and thank you for continuing to think about Victor Central School in your future if there's something that you'd like to donate to.
Thank you for those comments. Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 7A, it would be the post-eclipse campus news. I did watch the eclipse and got to see the streetlights come on.
The earth science teacher was disappointed that for 5 hours a front decided to come through Rochester. But it was still exciting.
It was,
to
and
hear
so
what-
was all the events taking place at the early childhood school. My name is Rob DeRose. There's much to celebrate from our school during this campus news update. First, I'd like to mention that next Wednesday is our kindergarten information night. It begins at 6 p.m. in the ECS auditorium. This event is for parents and caregivers only and is a great opportunity to learn more about all the great experiences that the kindergarten students will go throughout their year here, their first year here at the VCSD. A reminder, though, that all families who have a child who will be turning 5 by December 1st should register their child by visiting the school district's website. Tom Knight came to the ECS in March and put on quite a great show filled with song and puppetry and laughter and just some magical moments here in the ECS boardroom. The UPK students, teachers, and volunteers and aides just had an awesome time and look forward to hopefully bringing him back again next year. And they'd like to thank the PTSA for their support in bringing him here yet again. Our building partnered with our PTSA for the March faculty meeting as well, which was titled A Journey Around the VEX. Faculty members were able to grab an on-the-go treat bag and then walk around with a small group of their colleagues to share and look for evidence of the work that we've taken on this year and last year that connects to both the district and building goals. Faculty members enjoyed sharing the great work they're taking on, as well as learning from one another to shift their already highly effective instructional practices. Later this month, students will be participating in another community read event as they listen to the book, What Are Words Really?, read by special guest reader Karen Finter. After listening to the story with Mrs. Finter, students will be selecting a positive word that they would like to use to set the tone for their days here at the ECS and that describes who they are as a person. With the help of Mr. Marshall, one of our art teachers at the ECS, students, faculty, and staff will be able to take a picture next to a 6-foot-tall word bird display in our main hallway. So take a look for that in the next coming weeks here at the ECS. And this event is being coordinated by none other than Mrs. Kim Galena, our kindergarten teacher extraordinaire. Last week was Assistant Principal Appreciation Week, and on behalf of our school community, I'd like to thank Mrs. Laura Reynolds for all she does for our school. She's dedicated, hardworking, talented, kind, and a knowledgeable leader. Mrs. Reynolds is a big part of why our school is such a positive and joyful place to be each day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I'm Heidi Robb, the principal at the primary school. Great minds think alike. I was also thinking about the eclipse and our friends at the primary school. They were so excited to experience it. And although they were a little disappointed about the clouds, they still thought it was pretty cool that it got dark and then light again, almost like a light switch. The week before break, we had James Gilbert, who is a meteorologist from WROC TV Channel 8. He came and did a presentation for all of our third grade students. It focused on weather, and then he did a special portion on the eclipse, which got our kids so excited. So many of them did slideshows and watched little videos. And even over the break, I was getting slideshows from students that they had created and sharing things that they learned about the eclipse, which was really pretty great. In addition, I wanted to share that Mrs. Byrne, our assistant principal, had a second little baby girl a couple weeks ago. And now Mrs. Maloney, Michelle Maloney, is back here again at Victor, serving as the assistant principal for almost the remainder of the year until Amanda returns. So a familiar face, but we're all happy to have her here and want to thank her. Victor Primary School did a community read shortly before the break as well. The book was called The Day You Begin, and it's by Jacqueline Woodson. The focus of the book was that we're each unique. And every student learned that sometimes we might feel different from those around us, and that's okay. That's actually a good thing. On a Netflix show, it's called Bookmarks, Celebrating Black Voices. The author, Jacqueline Woodson, does a read aloud of this book, and I encourage all of you, it's on YouTube, I can send you the link. She does such a phenomenal job with this read aloud. I would encourage you to listen to it. And after reading the book, all of our staff and all of our students created a magazine cover that highlights themselves in their unique individualness. And so it's hung outside of their classrooms or their learning spaces. And so now our students can see each other's magazine covers as they're walking around the school to see what's unique about all of the staff and all of the students. And we're hoping that our bus drivers, our cleaners, our central office staff, many people are also creating these magazine covers that we'll have displayed at the primary school. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Ashley Sokola, principal at the intermediate school. The month of March was filled with opportunities for staff members and parents to work together to best support VIS students. Over the course of the month, our teachers and staff members participated in several CSE meetings and parent-teacher conferences. These meetings and conferences are a great time for parents and teachers to connect and share academic and social growth. I would like to thank our staff and families for supporting each other and working together to best help our students. Last month, we also welcomed our current third grade parents with the fourth grade parent orientation night to share curriculum highlights, our schedule, special events, and other exciting offerings at VIS. It was wonderful to meet many members of our incoming class. During our last Board of Education meeting, Rob DeRose shared how much our sixth graders enjoyed the field trip to the Rochester Museum and Science Center. It was the first time that some of our sixth grade teachers have ever experienced a field trip during their time as a teacher in Victor. The students' smiles and anticipation as they loaded the buses was a reminder of how special these trips really are for our students. I am eager to share pictures and feedback from our fourth grade Susan B. Anthony field trip next month as our classes just began going this week. We truly cannot thank our Board of Education members and our Victor Foundation enough for the support in providing these opportunities for our students. Finally, this month our PTSA is providing a special event for VIS students and families. On Tuesday, April 23rd, we'll be hosting a bingo night at the intermediate school. This event is free and will be fun for all. Prizes will be available to all of our bingo winners, and each student attending will automatically be entered into the raffle drawing. Parent volunteers from the PTSA are hosting this event, and we are so thankful for all of our volunteers. To our VIS parents, one little plug, please continue to check out the PTSA website for opportunities to volunteer for events like these in the future, as we so appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Brian Gee, the principal of the junior high school. I'm going to try to see if I can read my campus news off my phone tonight. Enter the new millennium here a little bit. So first off, from a curricular perspective, I've been trying to give highlights each year of some of the work that our school and our department have been doing. And so in addition to obviously getting ready for our state testing, which kicks off next week, which leads into our final exam and Regents exams, our science department has really been very hard at work. Carrie Goodell, who's not here tonight, along with Karen Finter and the Office of Instruction, really helping push our science teachers to revise curriculum, rewrite curriculum, and really think deeply about the instructional practices in a more student-centered way. So I really want to acknowledge the work that that team has been doing, and it's been nice to have Laura and I be able to partner with that leadership team to work with our teachers. And then the other thing that really we're in the heart of right now is getting ready for our incoming 7th graders. So our counselors and our special education staff have been meeting regularly with folks from the intermediate school to help transition our students to the junior high. And we've also begun the process of handing off our 8th graders into 9th grade and really looking at their courses of study and their curriculum planning for themselves going through next year. On a social aspect, our student council is again partnering with the PTSA for what will be our 2nd annual semi-formal. Huge win for us last year. First time we really kind of offered that, and a long time for our 8th graders. Really well attended. So we're looking forward to seeing if we can capitalize on that again. And that's coming up, I believe it's May 10th is the Friday that we're doing that. And then lastly, one of our goals this year as a building is to work on our Tier 1 support in the classroom, get an instructional goal, which really, again, I want to applaud my teachers. I'm really proud of the work they're doing. They've embraced, at the teacher interdisciplinary level, really looking at student work, tracking interventions more directly, trying new things, and we've built a new team in our building to come and provide support to those interdisciplinary teams if they feel like they've run out of ideas in terms of things they can try to do for kids in a classroom. And the best indication I have that that's working really well, in addition to attending some of those meetings, is that we're hearing a lot less of this student needs help in this setting or this setting or this setting. The conversation now has, we're finding ways to help them in the classroom while they're with us. And that's really been a nice shift, and it's a lot of work on the part of our teachers, so I want to thank them for that. Other than that, looking forward to the music season kicking off again. We just finished our spring concert, so to speak, but we've got a couple year-end ones that are going to be coming up, and that will be very exciting for us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Cecil, principal at Victor Senior High School. I've got a few updates that I want to give for the board tonight. Some individual updates on some students and one of our staff members. I want to start by highlighting Kendall Jones, who's in grade 10, and Alexa Loser, who's in grade 9. They are part of something called the Young Entrepreneurs Academy, which is something they had to apply to get into. They are being honored tonight in the Rochester area at an event because they've been working since November on developing a business plan, and they're going to pitch the idea tonight to a number of local businesses in the area who are part of the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. This is something that it tries to develop students to take charge of their futures. And I talked to the students earlier this week. I said, can you tell me a little bit about your plan and what you're going to be showing tonight? And they said, Mr. Ciesa, we would love to tell you, but we can't because they want to pitch the idea first, because if their idea gets picked up by a business, then they're going to try to patent it. I'm not sure what they're being honored for tonight. So it's fantastic, and I'm sure their ideas are going to be great. So hopefully we'll find out if their idea does get picked up. But for a 9th grader and 10th grader, to have this kind of entrepreneurship and thinking is just absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait to see what it is that they're going to be doing. So Jennifer Grimes, who's one of our assistant principals, she's there tonight to kind of watch the business idea, and hopefully it'll get picked up. So I'll hopefully be able to update you next month on what it is that I don't know that they're doing. So. I also want to give an update on something called the National Merit Scholarship. This is an annual academic competition for recognition, and these are scholarships that are open to all high school seniors who have to meet some very specific and rigorous requirements. And the eligibility is based on your PSAT score. And from there's an application process to look at everything from high school achievement, grades, volunteer service, extracurricular, honors, awards, and even employment. Just to put this into context, there are approximately 4 million high school seniors who graduate from U.S. high schools every year. The National Merit Scholarship takes that number of 4 million, and they identify 16,000 semifinalists who are eligible for a total of 7,140 scholarships. We have a senior this year, Kevin Chen, who has been awarded a National Merit Scholarship, which is a tremendous honor. This is the first time in my time as principal that we've had a National Merit Scholarship winner. This means that Kevin is in the 0.2% of, he is in the top 0.2% of all high school seniors in the United States, and we cannot be prouder of him. We usually have 3 or 4 students a year who are eligible for National Merit. We've never awarded one, and this year we finally have one in Kevin. So it's definitely something worth celebrating, and we already know that next year we have 8 students who have been identified for the 2025 round of scholarships. So we have a really strong class coming up next year. So I just want to make sure that Kevin gets recognized tonight. And finally, I've got a little bit of a show and tell to go along with the eclipse. We have an art teacher, Andy Redout, outstanding art teacher. He used to be in the business world. He illustrated a children's book called Jenny Sees the Eclipse. Now, the way that this started was about a year ago. He was asked by the Genesee County Chamber of Commerce to create a poster to promote the eclipse that just happened on Monday. This was a really big build-up to it. On the very last page of the book, you'll see what the original poster was. And when the Genesee County Chamber of Commerce saw the poster, they contacted him and said, we need to make this into a children's book because of your artwork. So they found an author who wrote the book. It's been a work in progress for over a year. The name of the author is Colleen Offner. Andy has never met her. They did everything through email and digital storyboards, so it was kind of fascinating. And Forbes named this book as one of the 6 best books to prepare you for April's total eclipse. Who knew that they did that? The city of Batavia is going to put this into its archives. And last week there was a book signing in Genesee County, and Andy went thinking that there would be just a handful of people, maybe friends and family, and there were a couple of hundred people who were there, and he signed the book. So he's got some funny tidbits about this. I was telling Maureen earlier that both the New York State and the United States Department of Agriculture had to okay the book before it could be published, and they had to have him make some changes. Originally, if you look through here, you'll see on one page, there's, the main characters are Jenny the cow, there's a horse, a pig, and originally he wanted to have a dog in here. And they told him that you can't have a dog hanging out with farm animals because that would never happen in real life. Dogs work, and the farm animals, they can hang out. So you have to switch out the dog for either a chicken or a goat. So we put a chicken in there, and they said you can have a dog as long as there's a fence. So Andy did put a dog in there, but he had to draw a fence. Who knew, right? Something else that happened was Andy originally had the moon coming in from the wrong direction. So they said, you got to change that. And there was also some work that he had to do on the anatomy of the cow. He had to draw that a certain way, and even the design, the spots on the cow had to be drawn a certain way. So Andy said, I just kind of threw this thing together. They gave me like a 3-week deadline. It was a very tight deadline, and when I sent it in, he said, I had no idea that the New York State and U.S. Department of Agriculture were going to look at this thing. And they came back and said, no, you got to make sure that you have all these things lined up before we publish this. So in any event, I just want to give kudos to Andy. And if anyone wants a copy, he's got some copies that he's willing to sign for you. So just let me know, and I will get you one.
Yeah,
okay. I'll try to get one for the board. Okay. Am I doing trips now, or? Okay. So we had, last month we had, I think, 4,200 overnight trips at Victor Senior High School that I'm going to talk about. No, I'm just kidding. So we had our, thank you for your prayers. The senior trip to Boston was fantastic last month. We had to cut it short a little bit because of weather. We came home a little bit early on Saturday. This is a picture at the aquarium of our entire group, about 270 students. And one of the highlights was seeing someone feed the turtles in the aquarium. Our Winter Guard group is going to Ohio. They're in Ohio right now for the World Winter Guard Championships. They're going to be competing against 100 other groups from around the world, and they're very grateful for the support from the Board of Education and Victor High School. And this is a picture from one of the regional competitions. Our Seas Club traveled to the tropical country of Costa Rica over spring break. This was led by Mr. Steve Cronmiller. They participated in a number of agriculture and ecological tours. They went to a sea turtle conversation museum. They went and visited a banana plantation and banana industry. They did a tour of an active volcano, and they even saw a sustainable eco farm. And saw, I believe, a wind farm as well. So these are some pictures from that trip. Okay, our girls lacrosse team. There's a picture of the girls our lacrosse team. They traveled, and there they are on a bus, to Long Island, April 4th to 6th, where they played some of the best teams in New York State. As we know, Long Island is a hotbed for lacrosse. The girls lost a couple of close games, but they learned a lot about each other. They had a great time, and they're looking forward to coming back and playing in Section 5. We did have a trip, another trip to Paris last week with Anne Steckel and Andrew Boutram, two of our French teachers. We used to have a sister exchange program with a sister school in Paris, in Rennes, France. But that sister school, they were supposed to come here last year. At the very last minute, they weren't able, they had to pull out for a couple of years. So we had already made plans to go to France and book the trip. So Anne and Andy brought the students anyway. And you can see here that they had a great time when they were in Paris. I think there's one of the Eiffel Tower. There we are.
I climbed that.
Okay. And if I can get to it, so our boys baseball team and our girls softball team, they both went to Myrtle Beach last week, where they played some very competitive high school teams from around the country. Our boys and girls team both went 2-1 in their visit down there. And they also had a couple of scrimmages. Gina Potenza, who's our softball coach, said the girls played really well. They've adopted a logo or a motto for this year, Team Before Me, and it's really starting to show. The girls are really coming together. But Sean Rucker, who's our boys baseball coach, and Gina Potenza said that the kids had a really good time when they were down there. We got some great pictures. Okay, so that is our update, and I will talk to Andy about getting copies of the book for you. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Note to self, never follow Brian Siesto. Entrepreneurs, National Merit Scholar, publication, World Travelers. Good God. Dewey Weimer, Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics. Thanks for the opportunity to share some of our accomplishments in our department. We're full go with our spring season, 23 teams, 59 coaches, almost 600 years of coaching experience. It's a very veteran staff, currently 660 student athletes in this spring season. Once again, our winter program, 100% of the varsity teams earn their scholar athlete status. It's the 19th consecutive season. With that honor, 70% of our varsity rostered student athletes had a 90% or higher. One thing that I hope that everyone has the opportunity to experience this spring is our unified basketball program. They started yesterday, and we're going to offer, once again, a live light show during our team introductions and at halftime. So if you ever have that opportunity to come watch that, it's a phenomenal experience, and to pack the gym and to see that is great. I'll be certain to share that date when it comes available. You may notice that a lot of our physical education classes, weather permitting, are starting to move outside again, utilizing grass fields, courts, parking lots, etc. We offer archery, golf, project adventure, team building activities, tennis, and much more. So I want to publicly thank our amazing staff for providing so many authentic opportunities for our students. As a community member myself, I can attest to observing so many students in our neighborhoods using those lifelong skills that they're learning in physical education, so I want to thank them for that. I also want to thank Safe Harbors and Thompson Health, who we partner with for our elementary health education lessons. They've continued to help us provide vital educational opportunities regarding medically accurate, age-appropriate, and stigma-free content and a comfortable, secure, and inclusive learning atmosphere for all of our K-6 students. Some of the lessons include sexual abuse and exploitation prevention, personal hygiene, and changes in the body, mind, and emotions that most people experience during adolescence, amongst other mandates that we are providing with their partnership. So thanks to them. I'd like to thank Doug Moore and Chris Marshall and their teams for their hard work. Spring can be especially challenging, and they never cease to amaze in their efforts to provide the best for our student athletes. And lastly, I do a weekly, what we call the Blue Devil Buzz. It goes out to all of our coaches, just some FYIs and some information like that. But we wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to many of our unsung heroes in the coaching world. So we wanted to say thank you to the spouse of the coach. If you've ever been involved in a family that has a coach, you know what this is like. So we want to thank all the coaches' spouses for their support, their understanding, taking on the additional family responsibilities, and sacrificing so that the coaches can positively impact our student athletes. Thank you again, and go Devils.
Thank you. Okay, one more item for post-eclipse campus news is happy birthday to Brian Adams. He left his birthday cake to attend this meeting this evening. And then finally, I think I should write a post-eclipse book myself. Timmy didn't see the eclipse. So there you have it, post-eclipse campus news. Item 7B, management plan update, new education orientation, mentorship, and induction. Thank you, ladies.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Williamson. I'm excited to be here with my colleagues today to share all the wonderful things we do for our new educators. So we really have two pathways to support our educators here in Victor. The first being our longstanding mentoring program. This program supports our educators in their first year in Victor all the way through their tenure year. So that could be year 3 or year 4 for that educator. This is a wholly comprehensive program that supports the educator in all aspects of their development. So their instructional programming, their professionalism, adapting to the culture and the systems within Victor, working on their classroom management, their communication with families. It's really all-encompassing. New this year, we have our induction program, which is available for educators in year 2, 3, or 4 here in Victor. And that program is really a focused program in which we are honing in on those educators' instructional capabilities. So really giving some targeted time for those educators to develop their craft of teaching. When we look at the mentoring program, that is a required program in New York State, but I like to think our mentoring program is quite unique. We are one of 10 districts in the state that receive funding by the Mentor Teacher Intern Program grant, thanks to these wonderful ladies behind me. They are full-time mentors, Jan and Christy. They are phenomenal, and it's really unique to have that position and that ability to support our educators in that way. We are guided by the New York State mentoring standards, and Christy and Jan report to our mentor panel monthly. So that's a panel made up of educators, administrators, and teachers. So they report that the work that they're doing with our new teachers, and that panel also gives them some advisement on their future work. In addition to our mentor panel as part of our mentoring program, we have a mentor pool. So this is a group of educators who apply to be in our pool. They are not full-time mentors, but they are interested in supporting their colleagues. So they may offer professional learning, they may work individually with educators. But again, they're not the full-time mentors that Jan and Christy are. Again, the program components are really about supporting all aspects of being an educator. We start our mentoring program with new educator orientation. It's a wonderful introduction, 3 days typically in August with our new educators. And it's really getting those educators together, working as a cohort, and understanding what's unique here in Victor. So it's a time where they get access to their curriculum, they get to work with their colleagues, they learn about our systems, how do you register for professional learning, how do you access all the wonderful technology we have in our district. So those are 3 really full days that are fully planned by Jan and Christy, but they do a wonderful job making sure that it's distributed. So in addition to them running lots of sessions, we have those mentor pool members coming in, providing support to their colleagues. Our teacher leaders typically attend those 3 days, helping their colleagues navigate the curriculum, and our wonderful administrators typically support each of those days as well. So that's our introduction in the mentoring program. Christy's going to walk us through our continued support throughout the year for our new educators.
I'm Christy Judge, District Mentor. In addition to those 3 orientation days over the summer, we provide structured sessions throughout the school year regularly. The targeted learning in these workshops is based on what we've identified as needs by the new educators based on their backgrounds and information gathered from them, but also from the management plan, the district goals, and administrative feedback that we're gathering regularly. While the content of these workshops is targeted and structured around specific learning, one of the benefits that's maybe not specifically addressed but developed naturally is the cohort feeling and developing the culture as we invite new educators to inform our culture of Victor schools.
We have many individualized mentoring opportunities. We do more of a comprehensive piece. Their first year, we do some individualized goal setting, problem solving. We're really working on building their capacity. And I want to mention that the foundation of all of our work is really confidentiality in the mentor program. So they can be really transparent with us and we can move them forward in the goals that they want to achieve as an educator. These opportunities blend together the goals of the district and their professional practices and can be very individualized, whether you're brand new to the profession or you're new to Victor with experience.
One metric that we use to understand the level of success of our mentor program is by eliciting feedback from the new educators who are currently participating and have participated. So I'll give you a moment to read this quote from one of our feedback gathering sessions.
And our goal is we really want to promote that culture of lifelong learning throughout their careers here at Victor. Now we'll turn it over to Karen.
Speaking of lifelong learning, after that really successful launch as a Victor Central School employee in their first year, Educators then are in that probationary stage. So P2, second year, up to 4, but sometimes even a little bit after that probationary period is over. Really, the induction program is there to support. And it really stems from the 2022 strategic plan, providing a foundation of instructional best practices among all teachers. And so this induction program helps to cement that. It's one way to support that aim. It's designed to mirror the 4 questions that all teachers ask when planning and provisioning instruction. What should all students know and be able to do? How will we and they know when they've learned the intended outcome? What learning experiences will best facilitate their success? And then based on data and what it tells us about student learning and student needs, how do we refine learning experiences or instruction as needed? In addition to the content of the induction program, which I'll talk about in a second, this also continues that cohort model that Jan and Christy just talked about, busting apart some of the silos that our 5 buildings on campus just geographically can create to provide an opportunity for teachers K-12 to come together and share their experiences and best practices as they work to hone their craft. So this year, for our first year of the induction program by the numbers, we ran 2 cohorts, A and B, approximately 15 teachers in each cohort. By keeping it in this small group, we tried to minimize the impact of substitutes across our buildings. No more than 2 or 3 teachers were selected from any one building per cohort. We did select from K-12 teachers based on recommendations between building and district administration, really trying to think about what are some of those areas where maybe new curriculum was being implemented and being mindful of some of the work, especially at our K-2 level around early literacy. We didn't want to overload, so we tried to really be thoughtful about the teachers that were selected. As we said, it's probationary teachers are really the intended audience, but let's not forget COVID did have an impact. It changed what student teaching experiences looked like. How do you Zoom instruct when you've never taught before? How does that help you grow some of those strong practices? So we recognize that we'll be dealing with some of those gaps for quite some time. We used release time. It wasn't always perfect, right? The sub situation isn't ideal, but we're working really hard to grow our capacity, and we work collaboratively with the buildings to make sure that they're aware, they have the timelines, and if we need to, we can release teachers back to their classrooms if we can't find coverage for them, and we'd work to make them up. This year's program was facilitated by myself and our humanities coach, 712 humanities coach, Jennifer Case. The program scope, the 4 days, each day had a focus or a theme, and high impact engagement strategies were modeled throughout. So the idea being that the teachers aren't just learning theory or some random things, but really we're engaging them in learning best practice by using best practice strategies that they could then reflect on and take back into their classroom. Day 1 emphasized unpacking curriculum and standards to determine what students need to know and be able to do, considering those big picture transfer goals, what students carry with them beyond a single learning experience, and diving into how to make those transfer goals accessible for all kids, not lowering expectations and the power of having high expectations for all. Day 2 takes those standards that were unpacked and asks the participants to think about how do we link and align those big ideas, the knowledge and skills, to assessments or ways to measure learning. And then how to break down that assessment to ensure, beginning with the end in mind, that we're really addressing what we need to through our instruction. So task analysis is a big focus of day 2. Day 3, given day 1 and day 2, our blue focus, our yellow focus, Day 3 is really about those just right learning experiences and strong core instruction. Things like starting strong, using feedback and questioning strategies, how to engage students in active processing, using total participation techniques, strong student-centered classroom instructional practice is the focus of Day 3. And then finally, Day 4 really took all of that learning and asked our participants to think about, what do you do when you might have students who are ready to push forward and you need to differentiate to extend and enrich, or if you have to differentiate or scaffold to support students who might need more time, more repetition. And so Day 4 really focused on those important differentiation and scaffolding strategies to meet the needs of all learners. We too embedded lots of feedback along the way from our participants. And on our final day, we asked for a summarizing feedback form. And one of the questions we asked was whether or not they would recommend this program to a colleague. And all 30 said yes, but these two stood out. I'll give you a minute to take a look. Pretty powerful words. And so with that, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the amazing team. As we started our planning for induction, we worked so closely with the mentors, with Jan and Christy, to really identify what is that next step for our teachers. And we're so thrilled with the outcome in this partnership and where it will go from here. So thank you.
Great, obvious, good work. Questions, comments, anyone? Thank you very much, ladies. Okay, item 7C would be the capital project update. Gentlemen.
Thank you. My name is Derek Villies. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Business. And we're going to start off talking about, give you a capital project update. It's been a long, grueling process, 18 plus months, so just giving you an update of where we're at. So we're going to start with the overview of the project, just giving you a one-page, it's not the comprehensive list of what's including in the project, but just a reminder, give you an update of our communication with SED facilities planning, and then our next steps. So the components of the project, this is 2 of 4 of them, additional space and warm and welcoming spaces. I do want to note that we have officially added the renovation of the old bus garage into a vocational real-world classrooms. Mrs. Finter and the Office of Instruction have been doing a lot of work exploring other districts, and it looks like we're going to go forward with that project. Warm welcoming spaces, it's not limited to, this is just one of the biggest dollar amount is bathrooms across campus. In addition to these 2 themes, we also have maintenance of existing facilities, which is our HVACs, our roofs, our windows, just maintaining our current buildings, and security. So as we do some of the renovations, we want to ensure that there are safe, secure vestibules to make sure students and staff are safe. And just a reminder, this is not a comprehensive list by any means. Everything that was already discussed in the past is still included in the project. The only changes from our last presentation was that we did remove the expansion of the intermediate school cafeteria, but it does still include a serving line to help get students through the line faster. It's just the space, and we'll talk a little bit more about why that was removed. But most importantly, why is the approval of the preliminary review important? So here's a breakdown of our costs. If working with our financial advisors and our architect, our project is $75 million, largely with renovations. We're currently looking for the approval on the addition ends, which is about $24 million. Approximately 75.7% of our projects are aidable projects, and then of that, we receive roughly 66% in aid. So on the $75 million project, if we can get these additions, the state to aid those additions, we would receive a little bit over $38 million in aid, which would put down the local share of $36 million. As of the end of March, we had $19,382,000 in the capital reserve that is going to continue accumulating interest. As we'll talk about in the next presentation, there is we actually discussed it already, there is a proposition for the community to approve another capital reserve. If the capital reserve is approved, we may have another ability to put additional funds into the capital reserve to offset that local share even further. And then the majority of the local share would be offset by future debt relief. So as old capital projects fall off, we can replace that debt with this new debt, keeping the tax rate relatively as close to the same as it currently is without major impacts. Any questions about that before we move on? So the status with SCD. On February 22nd, which was earlier than expected, facilities planning got back to us, and they felt that at this time our buildings were sufficient based on our enrollment, and that we were not eligible for any additional building aid for the additions. In our meetings with them, we learned that a lot of it is due because in their formula to calculate aid for the number of classrooms we need, they believe in K-6 classrooms, 25 students, and in 7 to 12, 30 students. On March 6th, our team, including our architect, Karen Ryan, Karen Finter, Dr. Terranova, we all sat and we had a Zoom with SED Facilities Planning. They were willing to meet with us. They shared how their formula worked. We gave them an opportunity, or they gave us an opportunity to share our expected outcomes of our capital project. And in doing so, we were able to modify our proposals, change some classrooms around, so it didn't necessarily change the quantity, but maybe moved a special ed classroom from one part of the building to another to maximize aid. So we did that all on March 6th. And then on April 1st, we were able to give the additional information based off of that conversation to facilities planning for their review. Those included updated building maps and the instructional space reviews. Instructional space reviews are currently also in the queue. That's the approval from SED's regional special education representative. So that's in the queue, but we gave them the preliminary request for them to start reviewing as well. We got approval from the Wayne Finger Lakes BOCE superintendent to bring CTE classes on campus. That is a requirement for them to recognize a CTE classroom as aidable. We provided them updated enrollment numbers because our enrollment study happened a few years ago. Over the summer, we did have a large influx of students in the intermediate school, so the increased students was able to help support the additions. And then we provided class sizes based off of the teacher contract and our budget presentations over the last several years to hopefully that they will accept our numbers and fine-tune that calculation to accept closer or actually accept our numbers for class sizes as opposed to the current state's formula. So if we do not receive aid, we have two options. One, we can remove the additions equal to the amount of aid that we do not receive, or we can move forward with the project knowing that there will be a greater tax impact. So those are the two options that we have to weigh. In the meantime, we're going to continue to work with SED Facilities Planning to maximize the aid for these projects. And then we're going to start working with the buildings to develop a plan in the event that we have to scale back or completely remove some of the additions. And then as part of all of our plans is be transparent with the board and the community about every step along the process and hopefully give you future updates. Too fast. Any questions on capital project?
Mr. Valise, can you put it back on the chart?
The dollars?
Yeah, please. The chart, yeah. So when you say that, question really is the potential aid in the middle column of the $6,176,734. correct me if I'm wrong, we feel that the aid in the first column, the 32,461,000, will be given to us, correct?
Yeah, so currently on facilities planning, you can see those numbers, and our maximum cost allowance is above the $51 million, so we do believe that we are eligible for all that aid, yes.
The issue is whether the state facilities planning department is going to give us the a little over $6 million worth of aid for the additions, and that's where the challenge is.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question, Derek. When you had this meeting, your most recent meeting with facilities planning, did they share with you if other districts, in terms of class size, like, are we way off on this? Because I know that, like, contractually we have, like, the number of students in, like, a K-6 setting and then a 7-12, and we try to keep class sizes smaller, which I completely support, but are we, like, really far off on class size? I mean, that doesn't seem like really good.
I don't think it came up in the conversation, but in our analysis with our neighboring districts, no, we're not far off in class sizes. I don't think our request for these class sizes is an unreasonable request.
Right.
The state aid formula is archaic and it's old, so the 25 and the 30 is not based upon anything recent. It's
Right, exactly.
something that they can utilize to potentially be stricter around whether they're going to be able to give aid or not.
Have neighboring districts had this amount of difficulty getting their projects approved, or is this kind of an anomaly?
No, it's not an anomaly. Our architect actually has worked with another district that has gone through this. In her experience, there was some back and forth negotiations. Facilities planning wasn't willing to accept their full class size number, but they were willing to go down on that number. In our architect's experience, which is something was very valuable to our conversation, know that our efforts hopefully is not for nothing.
Thank you.
Mrs. Mitchell, thank you for bringing that point up, because 30 students in 7 through 12 is, I'm sorry, it's educationally irresponsible. Unless it's 1954, when that was an accurate assessment of class size when they were building schools. My question would be, is this something that through Monroe County School Board Association we should have as a lobbying point and a talking point with our fellow districts to push this state ed to say, okay, let's get out of Fantasyland or out of 1954 and look at their formula that comes up with 25 students in a kindergarten class and potentially 30 in a high school? Is there stuff that the board can be doing, that we can be doing with the other school boards and Monroe County School Board Association that would be helpful for future asks down the road, not just for our district, but for other districts, because those numbers to me are just awful.
I don't think it would be a horrible option, but when in the conversation when we had with them, they were very rigid and to the formula, and there was very little leeway in the discretion. So I failed to mention, but when we were talking about like the cafeterias, the intermediate cafeteria, they're to a strict 15 square foot per student. And we tried to go, hey, we just got a COVID and we're still going to accept 15 square feet? Yes, because that's their metric, that's the formula that they have to follow when they do their calculations. So potentially that could be beneficial. Unfortunately, I don't know how many other school districts are in a similar situation that we are in, where we still have that growth and catching up on facilities-wise to our growth.
Did they share how they came up with that formula?
No, it's just, I don't know how accurate it is, but I had heard that it's a formula going back to the 1970s.
Exactly. Okay. So thank you. But sorry, one more thing. So I would put it out for this group, for us to reach out to the other school boards, whether through our superintendent or the district clerk, to say, is there anybody who thinks this formula is a good idea, and then see what we can do for advocacy for
it's definitely a good idea to advocate for that. I'm just, the pessimistic side of me is the state keeps throwing other stuff at us, like the state aid formula, and put stuff that's more immediate issues for everybody that they have to advocate for, and then this goes to the back burner. But I think it is important enough to really make a stance about, because Derek's right. Unfortunately, there's a very few number of districts that are actually expanding their footprint. Most districts are losing enrollment. So we're one of a few districts that's trying to expand, and they are very, they're being very, not difficult, well, difficult.
No, they're difficult.
They're being very difficult and tough in terms of giving us money because I don't believe the state has a lot of money, and I think these formulas help protect that for them.
I'm impressed that they admitted it was from the 1970s.
It didn't come from their conversation, it was another
Okay,
conversation.
But so.
Are they
so
willing
that-
to cite districts that actually use those numbers? Because I can't imagine any districts in the state.
Well, the problem was that back when they built their facilities, they might have been at that numbers, and then since declining enrollment, they've been able to reduce class sizes, but the building already exists. So as education has evolved, they've decreased enrollment, but their buildings are still there.
Fortunately, Victor's a little bit upside down.
Right.
Their continued growth.
That's the anomaly.
Mr. Ruiz, and I know this is not your responsibility, this is the state, but my next question, beyond capital projects though, if the state has established 30 for 7 through 12 and 25 or up to 25 for K through 6, are there other services that formula impacts as far as how we fund programming or anything else beyond building projects where we are looking at aid and we get stuck to that formula and it impacts what we're able to do? That's my bigger concern. To your point of Dr. Turnova, yes, we're not always building, but are there other things that formula of a blindfold and a dartboard?
Well, there was one thing that we learned about the formula that we didn't know about was that they were willing to accept mental health clinics in the space, which was a direction the district was already going. I think Dr. Terranova did some research on the appropriate square footage for a mental health clinic, and we added that to our building plan to try to get the additional aid because some of the space was going to be used for that.
Mr. Belize, when you discussed how that potential aid in the middle column, the 6 million and change, if we're not able to obtain that from the state, are you at this point able to speak to what that impact would be on?
So that would be spread out because it's an addition, it's aided over 20 years, so it would be roughly, I don't want to give you bad math right now, being put on the spot. I think it's about 300,000. It shouldn't be significant, but there would be a larger great impact, especially since we're still also dealing with the $18 million on the renovation side as well of the local share. Okay. So the local share would be double what we have in the capital reserve right now. So.
I mean, my stance obviously is that this needs to be aided, and I feel like it's the state's, responsibility to assist us with this. But I'm also just thinking of the needs of the building, specifically the intermediate school, that really requires that space sooner than later. And I was just curious what the tax impact would be if we're not able to obtain this. How long are we planning on this back and forth with the state before we have to make a decision?
I can run some numbers and give you a rough estimate and give it to Dr. Terranova, but in addition to that, the back and forth is going to cause escalation in construction costs. Exactly. When we originally established this project, it was over a year ago when we figured out the costs, and right now the inflation rate for last year was 4.12%, so, and $75 million, seeing a 4% increase is significant.
Right. Thank you.
I'm going to make a comment that's probably not popular. Victor, as we've heard all night, we have this culture. People are attracted and moving to the district, which is in part why our enrollment is increasing. We go for aidability. We go for every grant we can. We're very, very big in our advocacy work. But with all due respect, and I'm going to speak on my own, and I'm just going to put it out there, we can't expect everything to be free and aided by everybody else. There's a bit of a burden, if it's reasonable, to continue to move the programming forward, the excellence forward, to carry a burden that would be spread across the community within a reasonable amount, I don't feel is a big ask. As we look at our cost per student compared to some of our districts adjacent to us, we are significantly less. What this district bears is, for what we get, it's like our ROI, is incredible. And the impact and the use of every penny has been incredible. But at some point, there has to be that ask. I'm not afraid to make that ask. If I'm pulled aside in Wegmans or Walmart and they're saying, what do you think, do we need this? Absolutely. Are you willing to pay for it personally? I would. I'm not saying I'm jumping up and down. I know that times are tough, but we're not talking incredible increases, but sharing a bit of a burden, scaling back some if we have to. That's fiscal responsibility. But again, I appreciate all the work that we're talking about, but again, it doesn't come for free. And I think that in part too, as we have those conversations with adults and parents and with students, and we say, you know something, we all have to have a little skin in the game. Because if everything is given and there's not a little bit of a sacrifice, then where is the personal investment in that? So I'm not saying I want to welcome large increases, but I am not afraid to ask for it. If it's reasonable, if it's justified, which we have done. There's so many committees who have done so much work, and I applaud everybody's part that's played, but now we need to have that ask. And clearly, we're bending over, trying to explain to the governor and our legislators how we are so unique. But again, let's go back to why are we so unique? Because people have chosen to move here, but you can't have it for nothing. So I just had to put that in there. I'm not afraid to make the ask. So if that's where we have to go in order to get more classrooms so we can have smaller class sizes and counteract against the insanity of thinking there's 30 kids in a classroom, that's scary. And I know it happens, but it's not ideal. No child thrives in that. So we have to push, again, every question is, what is the impact on our children? And clearly, we applaud all the involvement, all the extracurriculars, all the academics, but now we need to build a space where they can thrive.
Okay, other questions or comments? I mean, I'm sure as the numbers come to us, we will have those decisions to make.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, now we are at adopt the 24-25 budget. Sorry, I was scanning, couldn't find it. We'll listen to comments first, and then I'll ask for a motion. Okay?
Presentation first.
Pardon me?
Did you want the presentation first?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that
Sorry.
first. And then I'll call for a motion.
Awesome. So this is the final budget recommendation with the information that we have today, and just give you a reminder of where we're at. So we'll start off with the goals of the budget, our final revenue and expenditure recommendation. In that there will be an update from Mrs. D'Angelo and the personnel, and then a budget calendar review. So the goals of the 24-25 budget is to enhance the comprehensive education that the VCS community has come to expect, that Mrs. Elliott just highlighted, improve the alignment of resources towards the district's strategic plan, maintain the stabilization reserves, maximize the use of every dollar spent, maximize the ability to generate aid for future years, and transparency. So we'll start off, we'll go right into the revenues and expenditures, specifically revenues first. Per the New York State Constitution, the New York State budget was supposed to be adopted by April 1st. Extension has been issued until April 11th, which is today, and earlier today, the Senate actually issued an extender through Monday, and this Assembly is expected to do the same sometime tomorrow, which looks like the budget should be coming sometime next week. Unfortunately, per general municipal law, we have until April 15th to adopt the budget, which means that tonight we're going to have to adopt the budget with a little uncertainty with some plans. So as we talked about a couple weeks ago, there's a couple scenarios several scenarios we can go. So if we look at projected one, is currently what the governor's proposal was back in February, that removed the hold harmless. It reduced the CPI number from 4.1 down to, I believe it was 2.4, and then no increase in foundation aid. So every year, the CPI and the hold harmless is based off of the existing formula, and every year they usually give you additional aid. So in the governor's proposal, not only did they not give you additional foundation aid, they reduced the formula, so we actually had a reduction in state aid for next year. The projected 2 is an example of state aid if they were just to reinstate CPI and hold harmless, which would be a little over $300,000 additional to the district, and that would give us the same revenue that we're getting this year in the form of state aid for next year. And then projected 3 is if they gave us the same revenue that we received this year plus an additional 3%. And the reason why we used 3% was that was the number that was in the Assembly and the Senate's budget proposal. So it wasn't just an arbitrary number that was on the table at one point. We don't know where they're at with it right now. So those are where we came up with those 3 options. In reality, it could come anywhere in between those numbers. Could be larger, most likely not, but it's probably somewhere in between projected 1 and projected 3. So if we do not get the projected 3, we have a couple options, but we're going to go out with the higher, or we're going to propose to you the higher expenditure number, and then from there, we'll make decisions if it comes in lower, what positions we do add to the budget versus not. And Mrs. D'Angelo will give you a quick update about the positions that we are recommending to be added to the budget.
So as I shared at our last budget meeting that we had, we are really in the refinement stage around special ed. In previous years, we had a lot of ads around safety and security, social emotional learning for students, academic intervention services. So one of the pieces that we're asking for, some of the positions are around enrollment. So just so you know how that 1.6 plays out, one is for a classroom teacher. The 0.6 is to support the special areas for that classroom. If we were not to have that position, class size would be at 22 or 23 to start the year with our current numbers. So that doesn't count any students that may move in to the intermediate building. And last year we did have a number of students move in late in the summer. And our goal is to have class size between 21 and 23. So we'd be starting the year without that position on the upper end of that. That 0.4 is to support the increase of 60 students in our strings program in the culture piece. And then, as I referenced before, we're in the refinement stage of special ed. So we're extending that ICT program. That would be that addition of 4 special ed teachers at the intermediate school. There'd be 8 teaching assistants to support those ICT classrooms there. And we are also extending programming at the high school, and then the addition of the behavior analyst to help support students that need help supporting their social, emotional, and behavioral needs. And that, I can't impress upon you enough, the positive outcomes of that shift to ICT. It really gives students more access to the gen ed curriculum and really increases the number of opportunities for students. And then lastly, the substitutes is an ask for 5 positions to have billing substitutes. So we were able to accomplish this with COVID funds, knowing that when COVID funds ended, we'd have to roll this into the budget. It really does impact students having these positions because first of all, we're super fortunate to have an incredible staff in all the buildings that help us out due to the substitute shortage. But it's a huge lift to know that we have at least one designated person that we know is going to show up and help us out every day in the buildings. So we really are asking for those things that we need, again, to refine our special ed programming, and then just it really impacts the day-to-day, that enrollment for kids and the substitutes. Any questions about personnel?
Thank you for that, Dorothy. As we just mentioned, the way the budget works is if we do not build an expenditure budget with these positions and the state aid comes in, you can't increase the voter-approved budget. So that's why tonight we're going to go forward with the recommended proposal of the revenue 3 from a couple slides before, which would include all the positions Dorothy spoke about just now. And then if the state aid number comes in at the projected number 3, we would look to add all those positions next year. If the state aid number does not come in at the full projected 3 number, somewhere in between, we would be looking to add or not fill some or all those positions based off of need, depending on where the state aid number actually does come in. And we're going to prioritize those positions based off of enrollment to maintain class sizes. So our state sources, based off of projected 3, would give us a state aid increase of 2.09. I know that we said that foundation aid would increase 3%, but foundation is only one portion of the state aid formula. In there, there's also transportation aid, building aid, et cetera, and BOCES aid. So in projected number 3, we're looking at a state aid increase of $2.09 million or percent, or $39 million. That would bring our total revenues between our local share, our state sources, and our federal sources to a $103 million budget, or roughly a 4.35% increase. Expenditures. Our largest expense, 75 to 80% of our budget, is made up of our people and the benefits that go to our staff. Our professional salaries and support salaries make up about $50 million, and then our fringe benefits associated with it is another $30 million, so it's closer to 80. We had very little increase between equipment, contractual, supplies, materials, due to the focus of making sure that we address the personnel need. So other than that, you see some movement amongst the codes, except for the one equipment code, which is the one-time increase in interest revenue for the one-time purchase of the new bus camera system. So other than that, the whole $4.3 million increase is related to the personnel and that bus camera system. So if we were to do a comparison between last year and this year, a $4.3 million increase, our levy increase is 4.43%. Because we are a growing district, we do believe that the rate between the current year's rate and next year's rate would only increase 2.82%. Historically, we have been very conservative in this estimate. When we did this presentation last year, we were looking at a $16 per thousand category, and it ended up being at 14.06. So some of that's dealing with reassessment, some of that's with new growth. But overall, on a conservative side, we believe that the rate will only increase 2.82%.
And just to add a little bit, Mr. Valise, the levy increase of 4.43% is at the tax cap.
Correct.
We're not asking to exceed the tax cap.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So the infamous 2% tax cap is just a limitation on CPI, and at 4.12%, it was capped at 2%, but our cap based off of the formula is at 4.43, and we are looking to go out at the cap, but not above it. So if going out the cap, here's what the taxes would look like based off of different property values. I do want to caveat that this is before any exemptions such as STAR. So we're looking, again, the 2.82% increase. So per $100,000 house, we're looking at just under $40 per year, which is a little less than $4 a month per $100,000 on your house. So our next steps, we're going to continue to monitor the status of New York State budget. And in the meantime, we're going to prioritize our prioritized list in the event that we don't get all the foundation aid that we're hoping for, and then make sure that we do what's best for our students. Any questions on the budget?
Derek, when you said that you're going to prioritize the prioritized list, how will we know, like, let's say that we don't hit the amount from state aid that we're hoping for? How will that be communicated to the board? So what positions are a go?
We have talked about possibly giving you another update once we get that final number. Am I correct, Dr. Turnova, on that?
Yes, I mean, as soon as, first of all, Monday, we have a cabinet meeting, and we're going to continue to look at, again, it sounds a little strange, but it's true, prioritizing the prioritized list, which is, to be honest with you, as we've already mentioned, is focused on the enrollment sections at the intermediate building, and at least as much as the special ed as we can possibly do to get the continuation of the ICT model across. And then what I'll do is communicate that prioritized list to the board. As we wait, we're hopeful that next week, at some point, we're going to get the information from the state on how much state aid we actually get. And at that point, we're going to need to communicate clearly what it is, the impact it has on those additions, and what our proposed next steps are. The tricky thing is tonight we're asking the board for the adoption of a budget at the maximum, which is the $103 million. But if we don't get all of that state aid, then we have to make a decision on, we either, like we said, we either reduce the amount of additions, and so we won't spend all of the $103 million, or we'll have to look at potentially decreasing our contingency, which is a little bit risky because you're basically reducing your savings for next year. And knowing that next year they're already threatening to completely redo the state aid formula, there's a whole heck of a lot of unknown out there around our state aid projections for the next 5 years. So that's where it gets tricky.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, just to recap the strategy as I understand it, we are going to ask for a budget adoption resolution that includes the $103 million amount, knowing that we're hopeful that the aid will come in to meet all of our needs identified, and if not, we won't spend to that amount based on what is prioritized to be eliminated from that budget. Correct? So I'll need a motion. I'm going to read the.
I do have a couple questions.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So first, I very much appreciate in the revenue update slide that you highlighted, we will prioritize personnel based on enrollment needs to maintain the class sizes, especially after we saw the formula from New York State and how they're putting that. So I think that's a good piece. On the expenditure slide, if you could, on that one right there, for supplies, so that decrease in 1.9 million, is that because we're not going to be spending it and we don't need to, or is that being absorbed by faculty and staff of they'd have to pay out of pocket
So
supplies, or is that not?
it looks like it
classroom
moved
supplies?
up into contractual.
That's what I'm saying. That's simply that shift. There's nothing else. Okay.
Yep.
And then, I think really it's more for Mrs. D'Angelo and Mr. Valise simultaneously. I know in March I'd said, is this enough as we're looking at, if we do get the aid that we're asking for, and the CPI and the hold harmless all come back, and so we're able to fully fund all those positions, are we appropriately staffed moving forward to meet both the educational needs of the students and the burden or the pull on the faculty, the nurses, admin staff, and everything? Are we appropriately staffed if we can get that?
Yes, we are appropriately staffed.
Right. That's everything I have.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion that the following resolution be adopted. resolved that upon recommendation of the superintendent, the proposed budget for the 2024-2025 school year be approved as submitted for a total of $103,224,919, subject to approval by the qualified voters of the district at the annual vote and election on May 21, 2024. So a motion, please.
Brian.
Brian, second.
Lisa.
Lisa. Maureen, please do a roll call vote.
So I'll call each of your names, and if you would just answer yes or no, whether you accept the budget or do not accept the budget. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes?
Christopher?
Aye.
Kristen?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
that.
for your good work, everyone.
Thank you for all the support.
So just a review of the budget calendar going forward. Just a reminder, Tuesday, May 7th is our budget hearing. And Meet the Candidates Night sponsored by PTSA PI. That would be at the junior high auditorium. Tuesday, May 14th is voter registration in district office with the vote on May 21st right here in the Board of Education room, also the Board of Education election. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is 7E, approve the following trip. First Robotics to Albany, New York from 3/20/2024 to 3/23/24 to participate in the Tech Valley Regional Competition. You'll notice that the dates have passed, but we did give approval to Dr. Terranova to approve that prior to us officially approving it at this meeting. So a motion, please.
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, second.
Lisa.
Lisa? Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. 7F, policy review. First reading of the following policy: field trips. Policy 4531. Just a comment that you saw in Dr. Terranova's one of his updates. We're hopeful that perhaps we could do the first read and then approve at this evening's meeting, if that is so appropriate. So do we have any comments or questions on this policy?
No.
No.
None.
Changes were great.
Okay, then let me entertain a motion to approve
So moved.
policy 4531 by Dr. Parks. Second? Kristen? Comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 7G, policy review, second and final reading of the following policy, grouping by similarity of needs, policy 4321.3. We've seen this before. Any comments? Well, let me ask for a motion to approve first.
Aye.
Ryan, second.
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. 7H, policy review, third and final reading of the following policy, workplace violence prevention policy, policy 9101. Motion, please.
Lisa.
Lisa, second.
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8, meeting reports. Monroe County School Boards Association committee reports. Anyone?
The steering committee met, but there's nothing to report to this general population.
Okay. I don't have any. I haven't been able to attend. Anyone else?
No.
Standing committee updates. Anyone?
I'll just take the opportunity to thank Maureen and my colleagues on the policy committee for the work that we continue to do in reviewing various policies throughout the year. But the large portion of that gratitude goes directly to Maureen for all of your work. So thank you. And for all the reminders.
That's something I'll second.
Okay. Anything else? Seeing none, item 9. 9A, special board meeting, Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES administrative budget and annual election vote, Wednesday, April 24th, 2024, time to be determined. Calendars, everyone.
So this is also a night that we've scheduled for your workshop, if there's anything that we need to do for a board workshop. We could also use it as an opportunity if we have an update on the capital project. If Dr. Terranova and Mr. Valise have information, we could hold a small board meeting. It'll have to be an open board meeting because we're voting on the budget for BOCES, but then they could also present if we have any further information. So we just have to come up with a time. So we could do a 6 o'clock in the evening, a 6:30. If we just do the budget for BOCES, if we have nothing else and we don't have a workshop, it's literally a 5-minute meeting.
And this is Wednesday?
This is a Wednesday.
Okay, which our workshops are normally Thursday.
Correct, yeah.
Just
But the
making sure I got it.
BOCES budget
Yep,
has to be voted
done.
on that day. So if anybody has any suggestions on time that they would prefer?
I can.
6:30, like keep it the same as our workshop times?
Yeah, I personally have that afternoon and evening wide open.
Yeah, I can make that work.
6:30?
I can go based on what other people need.
Okay.
Yeah, the only conflict is the Monroe County School Board Association's executive committee meeting is that evening, 5:45 to 7:15, but I don't.
Could
need-
even, I was going
I
to
don't
say we
need to
could do
attend.
earlier. If it's just going to be that, the BOCES budget, we could do it even earlier. We just need a quorum.
I mean, we don't need to actually attend that. We could skip it, right? Dr. T, that's one that you and I usually go to. Now, let's keep it what's convenient for everyone, 6 or 6:30.
Is it likely that we would be able to hear updates on the project, or is that wishful thinking?
That would be.
Depends on what we got.
I think there's a decent chance, I don't know what, that we're certainly gonna have an update on the state budget for the budget, so we could clarify at a meeting what we're spending for our 24-25 budget. But I don't know, but I'm hopeful that they would provide us the aid numbers for the project by then as well. I know our BOCES superintendent, Lynn Rudnick, is she's going to Albany this weekend anyway, and she is gonna talk to a couple representatives over there from the facilities planning, not to push them too hard, but to figure out what's going on and if they can get an answer. So my long-winded answer is, I'm hopeful that on the 24th, we could get at least certainly a budget update, but also a capital project update.
Okay, so what time did we say?
6:30?
6:30? Okay, sounds good. Thank you. 9B, budget forum and meet the candidate night, Tuesday, May 7th at 7 p.m. at the Junior High, Senior High Performing Arts Center. Okay?
Mr. DeLucia, can I just clarify on the 24th if that time's going to work for everybody, or if we just really need to make sure that we do have a quorum? Does it work for everybody sitting here to come at 6:30? If not, I just want people to feel like, just so that we know number-wise, like who to expect.
Part of it too is it alleviates any pressure for a meal. I mean, it gives us a chance to get home, have a bite, and come. And then that's one less piece.
Right, but if there's other conflicts, just so that we know, are we planning on 4 people, 5 people?
I have to move something, but.
But you wouldn't necessarily have to if we have a quorum.
So,
So
all right, let's start.
potentially wait, because you shouldn't,
I'm available and I'm planning on
I'm
attending.
available.
I'm available.
Maureen, did I hear you correctly that the anticipation that this would be 5 minutes to 15 minutes?
If it's a 5-minute meeting, if it's just the BOCES budget. If Tim and Dr. Terranova and Mr. Valise talk about the other things, it could go as long as maybe 30.
Okay.
You available?
If you're not available,
If you're not
you can
available,
say
just
that,
say
and that's
so.
okay.
Yeah, that's probably a.
Yeah, it's poker night. No. I guess the question is related to how important is it for you to attend the meeting at 5:45?
It's not.
For the executive, for Monroe
Yeah.
County School
Yeah.
Board, no,
Yeah.
it's we can, that's not necessary.
I'm sure we can move things around for 6:30. I was maybe advocating for earlier, if we're not having a lengthy meeting. That could alleviate the concern Kristen has with, which is getting home, enjoying your dinner, and
Actually,
spending time at home.
we do it very much at like 5:30.
We could do it at 5 if, I mean, it's,
Okay, I'm gonna withdraw my original. If we do it so early, it gets the gentlemen to their meeting, which is great to have representation at that.
I agree.
I know. And it could be 5 minutes. I'm going to shift my, do I have to turn this off? Sorry, I'm gonna shift my thing. I'm free that evening anytime. I just didn't want any implication that there needed to be a meal provided for the board.
right.
I will just assume that there won't be, even if it's a 30-minute workshop that comes following it. But I'm good for 5:15, 5:30, as long as, I mean, if we're going to do it earlier, let's do it earlier so
They can make their meeting.
Tim's and Timmy can make it to that meeting.
So we could do 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
Sure.
Who could make it at 5?
I can make it up.
I can make it at
Make
5.
it at 5, and I know you'll get quorum at 5.
Okay.
Okay.
And Brian, you can make it at 5?
Yep, 5 o'clock works.
All right, so let's
Now we have a
change it to
quorum.
5.
o'clock.
And even if it goes 30 minutes, it would be 5:30, which would still allow them to attend
Get
that
there by
meeting.
5:45.
Okay.
Okay.
5 o'clock.
Thank you, everybody. I didn't want to belabor the point, but just to make sure
No,
that.
thank you for that.
we know who to
This is the
expect.
conversation that's helpful for everybody. And it doesn't split up the evening.
Sure, thank you for that.
Yep.
Okay. Already did 9B, correct? 9C, regular board meeting, Thursday, May 9th, 7 PM, right here. And then D, annual vote and Board of Education election is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, from 6 AM to 9 PM in the Early Childhood School Boardroom. That's right here. I definitely will not be voting at 6 AM.
Now
Yeah.
we're just gonna knock on your door
6:05,
bright and
right.
early to bring you to vote
Yeah.
at 6 a.m.
Stay away at 6 AM.
We don't know what you'll vote for at that time.
Anything else for the good of the district? Motion to adjourn.
Elizabeth?
I'll second.
Okay, Elizabeth and Lisa, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, there it is. We've had our meeting.
Woo.
Thank you.